humans, it is I, Mr. Bell, and this is going to be part 4 of making masks. There's going to be the second to last phase that we do using these techniques and thinking about this as cardboard. I want to go over a technique that I use all the time in my art when I'm making cardboard sculptures of skinning cardboard, and that's taking this thin layer of cardboard and stripping it away from the inside part, which is called corrugation. Trying to make it as long as strips as you can. Little strips work too. But cardboard like this is really cool because this part of this side of the cardboard actually already has a lot of glue on it. So you don't really need to use new glue for this. I am going to grab my glue because I might want to reinforce some parts of it. But for the most part, I can rely just merely on the fact that the cardboard already has a lot of glue in it as well. So I'm going to put that to the side for now. I do want a cup of water, and I'm going to dip this cardboard skin into the water and give it a decent amount of soakage, but you don't want it to become super duper soft and wet. You want it to be a little wet. And then you can see the side where the glue is because it'll have those little lighter portions on it. And now I'm going to start placing this on this cardboard, letting it dry, and it'll be a pretty tight skin on it. But I want to be careful to not like cardboard over two parts like that, like my eye and my nose. I want to keep them kind of separate. So I'm going to plan where I put my cardboard skin. So I'm going to place it right here on his nose first. As you're doing this, this cardboard tends to be kind of stubborn and not want to stick down flat. But as it dries, it will want to stick down real flat. I'm going to skin over this guy. And remember too, as you're doing this, you don't have to put the skin down all at once. You don't have to put the shapes that we've made. You don't have to put them all at once. You can mix these strategies a little bit. I'm gonna get some glue, remembering that a little bit of glue, especially with this part, goes a really long way. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of there just to make this squish down the way I want it. Again, I don't really even need to use glue for this. I'm just kind of adding a little bit of a cheat. And then these little corners, they're gonna want to stick up when you're doing this. And that's okay because we're gonna add more cardboard to it to have it kind of seamlessly meet. So I'm gonna strip another little bit of skin. Remember, trying to make these chunks pretty much as big as you can get them. But you're really going to struggle to get giant pieces. So usually I work with shapes about this big. Give it another soak. Now I'm going to place it right here, kind of thinking about how I want this nose to stick out here and I want nostrils to be there. I'm going to squish this guy down here. Trying to keep it away from that eye. I'm going to rip off a little bit as I go. Put that aside. I'm going to use it in a second. And squish this skin down pretty tight. And then I'm going to leave that like that. I think that looks pretty good. Use this while I have it. I think I'm going to start maybe an eye shape right here. So really, I'm just kind of going to end up covering most of this guy's face with this same technique. Gonna get a little bit here, rip a little bit more of that skin. Some of you that have been looking at your mask progress, man, some of you have been using duct tape and tape as the skin for your mask, and that is totally fine and totally awesome. I would push you to maybe think about using maybe a little bit of this technique and a little bit of the technique that you're already using. But really the way that you skin your mask, totally up to you. Use the supplies that you have. But I am going to stick pretty much with cardboard here, and then at the end, the last touches, I'm going to use a good chunk of plastic that I am getting from a old milk bottle that I was going to throw away. So that flat stuff. Get that down. So, like, again, that corner is kind of sticking up. That's okay. I'm going to go over it again, and it'll probably cover it up. But notice too, as I layer this, like you're gonna see these lines, and I think that they can look really, really cool if you kind of are thinking about where you're placing this skin as you do it. Give this guy another little soak. I think I'm gonna put this guy right here on the edge. You know, the structure you're making with this cardboard is going to get pretty wet, and that's a good thing. You want it to stick to each other. Cardboard fibers actually can kind of like separate and squish together almost like glue when you're doing this. Notice that I've only used a tiny bit of glue for this. I'm really not going to be using much glue. I'm just going to be relying on the cardboard. And every time I've done this, I've been looking, is this the side with glue versus the side that does not have glue on it? If you're using paper or something like that, you know, you can totally, absolutely use glue on this. Don't let the fact that I'm not really using it mean that you can't. But really, I'm doing that to kind of illustrate that you really, truly don't need glue for this part of this. Notice how I'm now kind of squishing it down. I'm folding this paper kind of over itself, kind of wrinkling it up to fit that shape that I want. And then like where these two pieces of cardboard merge, I'm really squishing that down because I want this eye to be seen. And again, on my last step for this, I am going to be adding more of these type of shapes and maybe a little bit more skin as I go forward. I'm not sure. This guy's still, you know, I would say that right now I'm about 2/3 of the way done with this guy. And then these next steps, they're going to be the details that are really, I hope, going to make this look pretty cool. I'm going to rip this off. I'm not going to use it today, but I might use it in this sculpture later. But this corrugated part of your cardboard, if you skin both sides of it, can be a really useful thing as well. Again, it's covered in glue, so it already has that sticky element to it. Usually one side's easier. There we go. But you can use it to your advantage because it already has that texture to it. I've used this a lot of times. I've like made tons and tons of little rips and used little strips like this to glue to things to kind of make a bunch of layers of this. And if you do this over and over again, you can get some pretty cool textures that kind of are pretty good, like accurate representations of fur. So I use ripped up cardboard to be fur on a lot of my sculptures I've made. And that guy, yeah, use the cardboard I have, might as well. Notice if you squish it down a lot, it will lose that texture, especially if you get it wet. Gonna just glue down a little bit, or not glue, but stick down a little bit more. So this is a big gap right here. And again, I want to work on having those frog nostrils. I think that's really going to kind of make or break this sculpture as far as it looking like frogs. I'm really squishing that down in there because I want that to be something that the viewer holds or notices. Maybe I'll even rip a little hole in it. Yeah, like that. So I'm going to finish this. I think I'm about halfway done to the skin process of this guy. And again, in the next exercise, I'm going to be adding a little bit more to this fella. I really, truly am hoping that y'all can make some progress towards this end. Remember, this is a summative assignment, meaning that it is going to count for a big old chunk of grade. If you don't get it in, it's a giant bummer. If you get it in, you know, it'll be a pretty good way to either improve your grade and hopefully make you a little happier with your grade if you're somebody that's not doing great.